Hi guys, Chris here. So if you follow me and the channel, you'd know that I'd like larger phones, and I decided that yes, I have to check this one out. There's been a lot of requests for it. I've just finished reviewing Xiaomi's Mi Max 3 for the price is a fantastic large mobile phone. It's got a 6.9-inch screen, this one, IPS, and what we have with the Honor Note 10 here is a 6.95-inch screen, so slightly larger. The resolution is 2220 by 1080. It's an AMOLED screen as well that does support HDR10 spec, so it should look very, very good, this display. And the build of it is, I think it's glass they have on the rear. They've got twin cameras on the back of it, so one 16 megapixels, the other 24, both with an f1.8 aperture, so that's a relatively bright lens there. And it should perform well in low light, hopefully a lot better than the likes of the Mi Max 3. And of course, it is a more expensive mobile phone here, so you do expect it to perform in areas like that a lot better. So it has Huawei's custom chip in here, which is the Kirin 970, a 5000 milliamp hour battery, so it's slightly smaller than the Xiaomi Mi Max 3. And there is one disappointing thing to note with this, that the bootloader is locked. We expected this with Huawei. And the other thing, of course, is there's no 3.5mm headphone jack, which is sad to see on such a large mobile phone. Okay, so this is going to be a long video that's going to cover a lot of stuff in detail. There's some time codes here, so feel free to skip ahead. So you see the box, very simple, plain looking here. It just says it's the Honor Note 10 with the little AI marketing there. Okay, so just get this out of the wrapper. So for those that are going to ask me, how did you get hold of it so fast? Very simple. I bought this from China and I got express delivery, DHL. So there's the phone there. Just take it out for a second and we'll take a look at what else we get in the box. So you can see here we do have a SIM tray tool. Now the SIM tray, it does actually support 2 SIMs or 1 SIM and a micro SD card. So you have to give up one of the SIMs if you want to use a micro SD card with this, but good to see they do have support. So this I think has a case in it, by the looks of it. Yeah, okay, there's some warranty things and whatnot. That's all in Chinese as to be expected. So we'll take a look at this case. As you can see, it's a transparent grey TPU style, and it's better than having nothing. Good to see manufacturers, a lot of manufacturers in fact, including cases now in the box. And then right here in this little packet, we have, sadly, the adapter here. So Type-C to 3.5mm. Such a shame they did not include this. This is one of the real kind of deal breakers, almost for me, because I love to use 3.5mm headphones that I have and just plug them straight in without using silly adapters. So here we have the Type-C cable, obviously, and then the charger right here. And it is Huawei's supercharged spec, so the maximum output is 5 volts, 4.5 amps. So you see it just comes in this little slip here, so let's get it out of that and take a look at the phone. So at the bottom we have Honor branding there on the chin, and it does come with a pre-applied screen protector. So along the bottom you will find some grills here. Now they've got a loudspeaker, one of 2 right here, and then the microphone, the Type-C port, and you can see those 2 grey antenna lines. The whole bottom of the phone is rounded here, and it does feel really nice in hand. We've got 2.5D glass. The rear is all made out of glass. We have a fingerprint reader, and you can see the marketing branding there, AI camera, the dual tone LED flash, and then those 2 cameras. So one's 24 megapixels, the other 16. One of them's just black and white, and both of them have an f1.8 aperture. Now neither of these cameras have any optical image stabilization, so just like the Huawei P20 Pro, which is a little bit unfortunate, but it does have electronic image stabilization at 1080p at least. You see here the volume buttons made out of metal, and they do feel really good. They do not rattle around either. And then down the bottom of the right hand side you'll find this button, which is dedicated to the CPU turbo and GPU turbo modes, which is basically just marketing. It's all marketing hype here, but this button does have a secondary purpose, and that is the shutter button when you're in the stock camera app. On the top left hand side you'll find the SIM tray, so 2 nano SIMs or a micro SD card and nano SIM. Now note that this does have metal reinforcing around it, but it doesn't have a gasket there to keep out any water or dust. And along the top, the earpiece, then that 13 megapixel camera with an f2.0 aperture, and thankfully they didn't do anything silly like put a notch display on this. And taking a look at it side by side with the Xiaomi Mi Max 3, they are almost identical, the dimensions of these two. So we have more of a rock to this one when you lay it on a table, which I have now, and not so much here with the on and out because the cameras don't protrude as much. And I will measure it now and weigh it also just after this. So the bottom notch you can see here is slightly smaller on the Honor Note 10. The top notch as well, slightly smaller. And really, the height difference, marginally higher, taller, the Honor Note 10 than the Mi Max 3, only by about 2 millimeters or so. And as you'd expect, the more expensive Honor Note 10 feels much better in hand. It feels like a premium flagship. The Mi Max, well, it feels more like a Redmi phone because it's got the metal unibody housing on it, and it does have that lip around the edges, which you don't get on the Honor Note 10. This one is more rounded and overall just has a much higher quality feel to it. Now looking at the thickness of it, it's approximately 8 millimeters. That's without the cameras. And with the cameras there, then that brings it up to 8.5. So not bad at all in terms of thickness. And just checking the weight of it, it does feel quite heavy. Yes, it is. So 235 grams, making this a large, relatively heavy phone. And the Mi Max 3, of course, is a little bit lighter because it doesn't have the glass on the rear. That comes in at 222 grams. Alright, so powering this on for the first time, you get a haptic feedback vibration. And you can see now the bezels of this. So the side bezels, to me, look a little bit larger than the press images. They tend to do that, don't they? They Photoshop them to be a little slimmer than they really are. So this ROM isn't your typical Chinese ROMs from the likes of the Xiaomi devices I review. You've just got English and Chinese. No, you've got every single language you can think of is in here. Now, part of the setup, we do have the following unlocking options that you get normally with most Android 8.1 devices now. So you get face unlocking and then fingerprint ID as well. So I will just actually test that out now and set that up. And also the face unlocking. Now I've got the camera and the tripod in the way, so I really don't know how this is going to work out. No, it's going to be very difficult. I'm going to have to do this off camera. Alright, so we'll test out the face unlocking. I managed to get it to scan my face properly without the camera in the way. So if I tap it now, you can see it's looking for my face. It's vibrated that it hasn't found me. So it's going to be pretty hard for me to do with the camera right here. Try that again, recognizing face. Okay, it's recognized me. But the silly thing is, it won't go straight and unlock. I still have to swipe to unlock to get into the UI, which is, to me, a bit silly. There must be a setting, I think there is. And that is the reason why I prefer to use the fingerprint unlocking. So the fingerprint reader on the back, this is always on. And you simply just place your finger there, and look how quick that is. It's almost instantaneous. It works really quick and flawlessly so far. Alright, so the screen is looking really good so far, as you'd expect for a 6.95 AMOLED panel. Not bad at all, but just take a look at all of this bloatware crap we have on here. Now, of course, I did expect this being a Chinese phone. They just love to cram just so much junk on here. Look at it all. And they've even got this top apps, which is full with a whole bunch of other rubbish in there too that I'm going to have to uninstall. Checking the free space now, we've got 52 gigabytes free, just over. The Android security patch level is the 1st of July 2018. Considering now we're in August, this is not bad at all. And you can see that it's also running that Kirin 970 chipset from Huawei. This is my first time with the Kirin 970, so I did want to have a little detailed look at it here. So it's an octa-core, and the GPU is the Mali G72. And you can see we've got 4 ARM Cortex A73s, and then we've got 4 ARM Cortex A53s at a lower clock rate there. And I've just checked for system updates. There is nothing, so it is on the latest version of EMUI, which is 8.2. So the phone doesn't have full screen gestures, which to me is a little disappointing. They really need to put that in there, just get a little bit more modern. Other phones are switching to gestures. So you've got single key navigation mode there. You've got the 3-key navigation, which I've got at the moment, and then navigation dock, which is basically just like a little button there that you can use to navigate. I would have liked to have seen capacitive menu keys here, hardware ones down the bottom, so you could touch those, because there's actually room in that bottom bezel for it, but manufacturers are switching away from that and just going with on-screen buttons or gestures. Now, getting Play Store on the Huawei phones is quite easy. So you just need to go to what's called the App Gallery and then search Google. You'll find Google Play Store and then install it. So now taking a look at the screen, but first I wanted to show you that the white balance, you can adjust this and the color temperature. So your own personal preference here. Good to see they have this setting here. All manufacturers should include this, but surprisingly some don't actually. So you can tweak that white balance and tweak the colors.
So the gamma comes out to be 2.3, and the closest to 2.2 is really the best, but this isn't far off, so this is quite good. Viewing angles, as expected for an AMOLED panel, they are really good, some of the best that you will see on a mobile phone. And now quickly looking at the display side by side with the Mi Max 3. So the Mi Max 3's got the IPS panel, and really, okay, the difference between the two, you definitely notice that the panel on the Honor Note 10 is superior when it comes to color reproductions. It just seems to be a little bit more accurate there. But all in all, really, there's not a massive difference, and it's definitely not worth that extra price tag when you look at both of these devices. So we have to factor in the whole thing. What are the cameras like on this phone? But overall, it is a really good looking screen, more accurate, definitely more accurate than the Mi Max 3's display. Blacks, of course, is where the screen looks really good because they are a deep black, and I'm not noticing too much of a grayness when you move it. Of course, I do have the screen protector on. I'm going to leave it on there because I don't want to scratch the screen up. Maximum brightness is also really good. I just measured 690 lux. That's a huge step up. That's about 220 or so lux more than the Xiaomi Mi Max 3. So I've just run Antutu, and this is a really good score, 209,000, very quick. And that isn't in that CPU turbo boost mode either. So it turns out for storage, they are using UFS 2.1, and look at these speeds. This is crazy fast. The fastest I have seen actually on a mobile phone yet with the sequential reads. Very good random reads and writes, and also the sequential write is also up there, 204. Now I just assumed that Huawei would have gone with eMMC 5.1 spec, but I'm glad to see they haven't. This is really flagship storage speeds. Also checking out the Widevine, it is level 1, and this is great. So Netflix, you can install it from Google Play Store, and you can run it in HD. You're not limited just to SDs. So Xiaomi needs to take note here. They are still running with only version 3. And no surprises here with treble check, so it does not support treble, even though it does have Android 8.1. This is a shame. Camera API 2 check here, so it has limited support. So this means you're not going to get full features using other apps that will connect up and use the Camera API 2 from Google. So one thing I like about this phone is it has dual loudspeakers on the top and then on the bottom as well. But the thing I don't like is we're missing a 3.5mm headphone jack. But anyway, let's test out those loudspeakers, and I can say now they do sound much better than the Mi Max 3's, and overall not bad loudspeakers at all. Wireless speeds. Now, they're not the fastest I have seen. I've seen in the 400s from the Snapdragon 845, but this is still very good. The kind of throughput we can get here, up to around 780 megabits per second. 4G speeds, well, I'm with Orange here at the moment, you can see, and they're not wonderful, but it's getting what every other single mobile phone out there is getting. Call quality seems also very good, and I've noticed the signal strength, fine as well. No problems with that either. Wireless range also seems very good. Just like GPS, it saw 20 satellites, it locked onto 20 satellites, the lock was really quick, and the accuracy hovers around 4 to 5 meters, which is perfectly fine. So just looking now at the phone's performance in general with this real-world use, I've noticed that it is very quick and snappy, especially with that really fast storage, and I haven't noticed any problems with the task manager, so it's not automatically killing off any applications too soon, I feel. That seems to be fine, but swapping between your apps, going back home, loading things in, this is all really quick. I mean, this feels every bit a flagship phone, and I haven't seen really any stutter. What I have noticed a couple of times is just when I've gone like this, so swapping from side to side, I've seen a tiny little bit of animation stutter. Now, one annoying thing, of course, this is a Chinese phone, and as expected, really, you're going to see this. Okay, so you can see a little bit of Chinese text here. Now, we've got that AI button on the side. I don't really know what it does. It just really clocks up the governor, doesn't it, for the CPU and the GPU clocks. Holds them at maximum speed, I think. So it's going to chew through the battery. And when you tap it, so you turn it on, I don't actually know. There's nowhere to see where it's on or off. It gives you all this thing right here in Chinese, which I don't read. But what I think it's saying is probably that's what it's doing, or it's going to consume more battery life, yada, yada, yada. And yeah, that's kind of annoying that is there. So you're going to see this Chinese popping up here and there. Now, we do have, you see it again, bit of Chinese right there. So it's telling me some new app thing. So this is always going to be there. We do have NFC on here as well, which is good to see. So you can buy a dock for this and have it running like a Samsung's Nex, really. So it can have like a desktop. But I tested it out. If you don't have that specific hardware for it, which I don't have on hand, I've tried my HDMI adapters. I've also tried my Type-C hubs and everything. I cannot get any HDMI signal out of this, which is a little bit unfortunate. I didn't expect it to work. OTG does work, by the way. So I will test out one game here, which is a very popular one here. This is PUBG. Now, it auto-detects these settings as high. So high graphics, high frame rate, as you can see here. But you can adjust this to HDR and Ultra if you want. And that's what I'm going to test out now. So you can see with the map, frame rate is really good as expected on Ultra. And with this chipset, the Kirin 970. Let's jump out of the plane. So I have turned on that, well, at least I think it's on, the GPU turbo. You tap it and it doesn't actually give you any signs it's on or I'm turning it off, which was rather silly, or maybe that's what it was telling me in Chinese that I didn't actually understand there. So you can see here there's a little bit of stutter just then, and that seems to happen on every single device, just loading in the textures and things. So I've been playing for a few minutes now and the frame rate is really good, the graphics look good, and because we've got the large immersive screen, it's just a real joy to play this game here. And the speakers also, they add quite a bit too, because they've got a bit of bass to them. They sound nice. And I almost crashed just then. But yes, very playable. I'll just get off the motorbike here, and I'll zoom in with the scope to show you that's very smooth, and there is no lag with that either, you can see. It's a really good performance here for demanding games like PUBG. So Huawei has marketed a lot about the cooling on this. It's got some sort of copper heat transfer pipe on there to lower temperatures 10 degrees. I don't know what that's compared to though, 10 degrees less than what. So the front of it's getting up to 35 degrees. And I've noticed that the rear, so around this part here, just below the fingerprint reader here, it is actually getting quite warm to the touch. That is, actually it's cooler than the front of it. So that's about 32 degrees though. So it's going to get warm, but it looks like at this point, thermals are definitely under control. Over in the camera app now, so I'm not going to go through everything because that's just going to be very lengthy. This is already long enough, this video. So we have AI mode. This is on by default. Now to me, these AI boosting photography modes, they're all just a gimmick because all they do is just bolster up the saturation, the colors, boost them, and the brightness sometimes. So I don't particularly actually like that, but maybe some people do like this kind of feature there. It's got that. Obviously we have the portrait mode using the dual cameras on the rear, a night mode there as well. And you can shoot with the front-facing camera up to 720p, and you can also shoot with the rear camera 4K, but no optical image stabilization or electronic image stabilization in 4K, which is a little disappointing. So just like the P20 Pro there, and you can see if we go into the Pro mode, which I wanted to show you here, we've got ISO, shutter, exposure, and then the focus control and white balance. We can also shoot in RAW format, which is good to see, and then the resolution up to 24 megapixels there. The default is the 16, and all the other settings here you can see, they are pretty straightforward there. So sample now with the front-facing camera. There's probably a bit of wind noise because it is quite windy at the moment. Only 720p max with the front camera, which is slightly disappointing really, because a lot of other manufacturers are offering at least 1080p even on budget phones, and some even up to 4K like the Vivo phone. Now this is a sample shot with the rear cameras and it's 4K, but you'll see that it's a little shaky because there is no electronic or optical image stabilization, which I feel is a bit of an error there. They really should have put optical image stabilization at least with this sensor. You can shoot up to 10 minutes max. The focus is face detection autofocus, and you can see it tends to do an okay job. It's not quite as good as you can see there as that dual pixel phase detection, for example on the Samsung Galaxy S8, S9, and even the Xiaomi Mi Max 3 has that. Now, if you drop the resolution down to 1080p, then you do have electronic image stabilization, which you can see does an excellent job. This is super smooth and steady. It almost looks like I am using a gimbal, but I'm not. Definitely not. It's just a shame it's not working in 4K.
Alright, so to quickly recap here, we're looking at a phone that of course has a super large screen. It's not going to be for everyone. It's quite heavy at 235 grams. And when you're using it, yeah, you're holding up basically a 7-inch tablet to your ear. Now we have an AMOLED screen, so it comes out much better than the Mi Max 3 that I have. The screen is definitely a lot better. The build quality is better. The camera's better as well there. And this is to be expected, of course, because there's a massive difference in the price. This is a premium mid-ranger. That's more of a budget device. So this is selling for around, I think it's what, 250 US versus 400 plus, 409, 450. So there's a big difference there. So no 3.5 millimeter headphone jack. That's a real shame. I feel on such a large tablet, it should definitely have that. Now the face unlocking, I'll just do it again. It works really well. But it's kind of silly that you have to slide to unlock and it just doesn't go straight into the UI like other phones do there. Fingerprint reader works really great. Cameras, they do look really promising, really good actually. They step up, I feel, yeah, better than the Mi Max cameras. Yeah, even though that one's got quite a good camera, maybe the focus isn't quite as good. This is dual pixel face detection autofocus on this one, and this one has the face detection autofocus. But overall it is looking really good. But the lack of any optical or even electronic image stabilization on 4K is a bit of a deal breaker. And this is the reason why I did not actually get the P20 Pro to review. I thought about buying that phone, and then I realized that 4K there's no way to get any form of image stabilization. You have to use a gimbal to get nice, steady, smooth footage, which is, that's just an error. Hopefully that'll be fixed with the update with the Kirin, the new model. I think it's going to be called the 980. That one hopefully is then going to have electronic image stabilization on 4K, have the power to actually do that. Very powerful chipset, really high speed, fast storage. That surprised me. I didn't expect it to be that fast. I really thought they were going to use eMMC 5.1 spec, so nice to see that. It is just super quick. Overall, the performance is really good. Now the gimmicky toggle button, I'll press it at the top. I'm only going to be using that as a camera shutter, but there's no way to actually tell it's on. It's really silly. So when you press it, there's no notification. It doesn't pop up saying, hey, turbo mode is on, marketing hype mode is on. No. I don't know why really they've even bothered with it. They could have put a 2-stage camera button here, would have been much better, and I would have been happier with that actually than just this gimmicky little button thing there. Now I don't read Chinese, so I don't actually know what it really said there, so maybe someone can correct me in the comments if I'm wrong about that, but still it should tell you when it's on. So overall, the premium build, very much a premium large, almost like a flagship phone really with the cameras. Front facing camera, it's too white, it's kind of overexposing, even though I've turned off beautify mode, nah, not really that great. Portrait mode looks good. Camera in general looks good. Low light definitely looks quite good there. They've got that advantage with the megapixels as well, having 24 versus 16 you get on, say, the Mi Max 3. So if you're on a budget, definitely go, when you want a large phone, go for this one, the Mi Max 3. Check out my review of that one up here. And now I will be back with a part 2, you could say, of this particular phone here. So I need to use it, obviously, for quite a few days, full on, as my main phone. Check my battery life. I'll be back with battery life updates, full charge times, and probably do some low light video samples as well and some other low light photography. So compare it to the Mi Max 3 so you can get an idea of just the kind of difference you can expect from there. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you did like this detailed hands-on review, then please do subscribe to the channel, and I do hope to catch you back in the next one. Bye for now.